Now, if you don't know what a homunculus is, it's something weird that came about with some videos posted to the internet where a guy tried to form a crossbreed species of a human and an egg. So in order to do this, first we need some of my own DNA. Instead of using human reproductive cells, what I'm going to be doing is using my own cells from my cheek. Now, it is possible to fertilize an egg with a non-reproductive cell. Reproductive cells only have one copy of their chromosomes. And the reason they only have one copy is because then they can combine with the copy in the egg, and they can combine together and it mixes the genetic material to produce offspring. But for normal cells from your cheek, there's two copies of the chromosomes. So fertility researchers from Monash University in Melbourne, Australia, they were actually able to successfully fertilize an egg using a normal diploid somatic cell. That means they were able to fertilize an egg using cells that had two copies of its chromosome. Okay, here we go. Let's inject my DNA into the egg. Okay, it is done. Then keep it somewhere warm, and it has to be there for 10 days. Now, the reason this seems impossible because in nature you cannot fertilize an egg with the reproductive cells from another species. Now, there are some examples in nature of species that have mated and had viable offspring. Now, some of these are a zebra and a donkey mated together to form a zonkey. A lion and a tiger together make a liger. A jaguar and a lion together make a jaglion. And of course, a female horse and a male donkey make a mule, which you probably heard of before. So does it really seem possible that human DNA and chicken DNA could form together to make some new weird chicken-human species? Well, believe it or not, this has happened in the past. In 1976, scientists actually fertilized a hamster egg with human reproductive cells. Now, none of these fertilized hamster cells were actually implanted in a hamster or a human or anything, so it's not like the cells divided and started to grow, but they did show that it was possible for two completely different species to actually fertilize an egg of another one. Now, I'm not sure how ethically this study was even able to be done, but it was in 1976 and things were a little bit different back then. So how are they able to do this, and why is it so difficult for different species to fertilize the egg of another species? Now, one line of defense that an egg cell has against being fertilized from a different species is something around the egg cell called zona pellucida. So in order to be fertilized, it has to be the same species that interacts with this zone around the egg. If it's not the same species, then it won't be able to get through here and interact with the inside of the egg cell. So if this is species A and this is species B, they won't be able to interact. But if this is species B as well, then it can get through this zone here and it can get inside of the egg cell. Then once it's inside, the two cells can fuse together and the egg is now fertilized. So what these scientists did, as unethical as it sounds, is they took hamster egg cells from specifically a Syrian golden hamster, and they removed this outer layer from around it. So they took this off, and then they fertilized it with human reproductive cells. And they actually found they could do the same thing with hamster, pig, mouse, and human DNA. So basically you could fertilize any of these eggs with pig, mouse, human, or hamster DNA. It didn't matter. Now, as I said, they never implanted these eggs because the study was just to test if it could be done. It's almost certain though that if these were implanted, there's nothing that would grow from this, because the more different a species is, the more likely it is that their DNA is not compatible. Most likely the cells wouldn't be able to keep growing because of how different the DNA is. Okay, now let's check this out. It's been 10 days. Let's see what it looks like.
I feel empowered. I feel like the Dimitri Post diagnosis loves every inch of himself.
Ask your healthcare provider if Biktarvy is right for you, and visit Biktarvy.com to view the important facts, including important warnings.
Whoa, something's there. What is that? It actually grew something in there. Or did it? Do you want to know what it grew in there? a piece of sponge that I stuck in the egg during those 10 days. Our proteins are so different on the cells that even if you were to inject it in and you were able to remove this outer zone here, they still wouldn't be able to be fertilized because of how different their proteins are. It wouldn't result in cell division at all. So a homunculus is definitely nothing to do with a human chicken that have combined together in some freakish fashion to make some kind of a monster. And thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.